you send this recording clip to us?
I did last time. I put it on the
Yeah,
Frank.
but the one today, the one from today?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
what you, okay,
That's why
all
I'm
right.
recording it now. Yeah.
Okay,
So,
okay, cool.
all right, guys. So we'll go ahead and get this meeting started now, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. So today's agenda is right here. We're going to start with like last time. I think this is something that was really nice just to hear from all of you guys. Optional, of course, like an emotional check-in. Like, how are you feeling since last time? Do you feel more at ease since last time? Do you feel these PDs are helping at all? So if anyone would like to share, well, we'll do a couple of rounds of an emotional check-in before Mr. Cruz gets started. Did anyone want to share out like how they're feeling today? Anyone?
Yeah, I can start. I was just sharing on the other chat, in the other room. We actually were doing kind of the same thing. We're checking in, and I think that this week is a little bit more overwhelming than last week, just because of the bombardment of different meetings that we have going on today, or at least this week with all the PDs. There's a lot of confusion on how to access the PDs, how to access the materials. My wife spent all day yesterday trying to figure out a lot of the logistics on the PDs, to find out that at the end, you can always revisit the PDs at your own pace on Schoology at some point. But I think how it's being distributed, all the information with the PDs and everything is kind of chaotic. Everybody just seems to know where to go to get the materials, how to sign in. A lot of links are being shared that tell people to different things. So I think this week, it's definitely a little bit more overwhelming than last week, just because of all the district mandated stuff that we need to kind of take care of it, and just trying to get grades turned in. So I shared on the last on the other Zoom meeting that I really want this week to be over.
Thank you, Mr. Cruz. Anyone else?
Well, I do agree with Cruz on this. Like, it's just like keeping us busy. It's like busy work. I mean, some of these PDs, like the one from yesterday, was all about how to create assignments on Schoology, how to do this, which is fine. Like, there are a few things here and there, but it's just like it missed grades and all this confusion, and people were trying. So, I mean, it took me 45 minutes to get in because Schoology was down or whatever. It's very frustrating because you have so many other things on your plate. And I think at the district level, it shows lack of organization. That's what I feel. I mean, they should know that there will be so many people who will try to log in, so it's going to be a problem.
Yeah, I completely agree with both of you. I've been having.
It took me 45 minutes yesterday to get in.
Yeah, Schoology keeps.
And all those emails which were being exchanged between people, like, it was crazy. It was.
Yeah, I agree. Anyone else?
I just have a quick suggestion. Yeah. I was wondering if we can do a Zoom happy hour. You know?
Did there one?
Remember, I'm recording this.
Maybe not today, maybe Friday. Right?
Oh my God, that's the only day I have.
It will be probably like optional, of course, right? It will be probably like, I don't know, like half an hour. You know, we just share a drink. Could be coffee, tea, or whatever other thing you like to drink, you know?
I'm going to show off all my spices on all my food.
There you go.
Let's do it.
I've been wanting to.
And that's not going to be happy.
Your kitchen.
Let's do it.
That's
Let's
good,
do
guys.
it.
It's good to stay in good spirits.
I think we should do it, and then instead of we can talk about our best practices on how to cook the easiest, most tastiest thing with the least amount of ingredients.
After how many drinks you want to talk about?
Yeah, no kidding. I love it. Let's plan it. Let's plan it for Friday at some time. Let's start Friday at 4 or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Whenever you guys are available.
Yeah,
excellent. I like it.
Okay. Anyone else? Thank you for sharing, guys.
I like Calderon's idea. That's a good a Friday happy hour.
Finally, Monty, I'm gonna have a drink with you. Finally.
I wanted to do like a rant and rave session, but I want Mr. Avalos to be with me so we could get.
Oh yes.
Oh, that's a hard one. There.
I'll be, he
Raves
can
more.
rant. He can be rant. I'll be rave, and then we could like be like the old Muppets up in the balcony. Those
Oh
two.
yeah, the little teasers. Yeah.
You know? Listen here, true story. I went to the Home Depot. I shouldn't have gone, but I went over, and I'm walking out in the plant section, and went through the dirt section, picked up a bag of dirt or two, and I was still in the plant section, and all of a sudden I sneezed, and I visibly saw people run. It's like, no, it's the dirt. I'm allergic to the dirt. They actually ran. They ran. Anyway,
All right.
we'll see that for rant and rave thing.
So for the sake of time, we'll go ahead and move on then to our main topic for today, which is going to be another idea on how to implement remote learning using a best practice that Mr. Cruz had shared with us last time we met, but I really wanted to give him the stage today to kind of show us how to use this as part of this whole remote learning / online module. So connects to the, how we introduce our content, also known as direct instruction, as you guys saw in Ms. Price's video that she posted yesterday. So with no further ado, I'll turn it over to Mr. Cruz.
All right, thanks. Thank you, Mr. Trujillo. All right, guys. So I am gonna show you a couple of things that I do with my lessons, and I'll kind of walk you through the process, and then hopefully you'll find what I'm about to show you useful. So I know there's been certain concerns about technology that you have available at home. So let me show you first the easiest thing that I found at home that I have that allows me to use to my lessons, which is using a different camera. So I have this document camera. I'm gonna change my camera now. And oops, I need to take off my, it's not gonna work. So this is my external camera. It's just it's just a document camera that I have of my own. But I don't know, Ms. Boar was testing hers. I don't know if she got it work. Oh, Ms. Ramchandra, I'm sorry. Ms. Ramchandra was talking about. But this is, again, it's just a document camera. And this one, you don't have to share your screen. You don't have to share anything. All you have to do is just under the option of video on your Zoom, you can click the little arrow up, and then you can choose which camera to use. So if this is my document camera, it's just a USB camera. I do have another USB camera here that I was able to test, and it works just as fine as long as you have a little stand. And then, like I said, you can just do your stuff, right? You can just write whatever you want. And obviously it's kind of like blurry because I'm using a very thin pen, but if you have a marker, probably more darker, you can actually write. And then you can, zoom in, zoom out, and show your lessons. So if I want to do a problem like in physics, or if I need to show them something, right? So, object moving to the right velocity, sun forces, it works just as fine. But this is, again, if you have an external camera and you want to connect it, put it on a stand. For me, like I said, I have my own personal document camera. So I've used it a couple times, to show a problem or something in that sort.
Mr. Cruz?
Yes, ma'am.
Remember the other day, this is Ms. Ramachandran, I asked you and we did a Zoom meeting and you said I need that HDMI cable.
Yes.
But then I don't do it on paper, but you know what? You can even use AirPlay if you have an Apple device, and it's working for me. Like, on my iPad, I just go to the notepad and then I use my pen, and then I connect to my screen through AirPlay. So it's working very well.
Yes. So
but just letting you know. Okay.
That's actually what I'm going to show you next. So
okay.
To use that notepad kind of tool, I use Doceri to control my screen. So I'm going to share something with you guys. So okay, so Mr. Trujillo, can you give me access to share screen? I can't share my screen.
Thought I did.
It says hold to see what attending screen sharing. Let's see.
How do you do that for those of you that are more competent with Zoom?
I believe you go to participant. No, you go to. Is
it the arrow next to video?
Oh
And
yeah,
then you get video settings?
yeah, video settings, and then there's one says that
Share screen. It's
yeah,
like the fourth one.
yeah.
You mean for me or on
Yeah.
Cruz's?
No, for you because you're the host.
Oh, I see. Okay, thank you. I think I turned it on.
Okay, there it is.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna show you two ways of using Doceri and the iPad. So the first one is what Ms. Ramachandra was talking about. There is an option if you have an iPad, and just give me a second, it takes a little bit to load in. So when you share your screen, you have different options. One of them is to share your iPad via mirror image, or you have another option to connect your phone. Obviously, if you have an iPad or if you have a tablet of some sort, this is the option that you will pick. So again, just bear with me for a second because it takes a little bit of time to sync it for whatever reason. And in a minute, you should be able to see my iPad. Come on, we're working.
I want to add just another thing that I did. So the screen mirroring, I had trouble one time. I was like practicing with Mr. Monty, and I just ended up joining Zoom as like a user from my iPad and gave myself screen sharing ability. So sometimes if it gives you trouble, you can join Zoom from your iPad. Like it's yourself, you have two devices, but you can still screen share just in case that option doesn't work.
Okay.
There's like a little loop around too.
Okay, good. So for me, it's been working just fine. So this is Doceri. So basically what Mirror Image does is it allows you to share your iPad, and it's just your iPad, so you can see what I have. This is my wife's school iPad, so she has a bunch of elementary stuff. But I installed Doceri because her iPad has more power, and I just find it to be more reliable. So again, you start Doceri. Now, Doceri, you have two options when you start the program, and right now it's for free, by the way. You can download the app and you can download the desktop for your computer. Otherwise, you will have some kind of connectivity issues if you don't have both in your computer. But the easiest thing to do is when you go through Zoom is mirror your iPad. It actually walks you to the steps on how to do it. When you open the app on your iPad, you have two options. It says one is from my iPad alone or through your computer. So I'm going to show you the one with the iPad first. So this is running it directly from from my iPad. So this is what you see. So I really like Doceri because Doceri allows you to zoom in. And in essence, what it does for me is helps me write nicer. So for example, this is the standard what I have. And if I write my name, it looks a little bit kind of big and a little bit sloppy. But when you use Zoom, Doceri, what you are allowed to do is you can actually zoom in and you can write very small. And now you can see that my name is a little more neater, and you can actually use the entire board to show you. So just to kind of give you a little bit of a demo of what I've done before. So this is one of the lessons that I had with my students just today. So you can see that you can use colors, you can use arrows, you can use highlighters, and you can just kind of walk through the process and help you, and so you can use it to do examples, problems, whatever you need to do. I already spoke to some of the math teachers about this program because they found it useful to be able to write problems and annotate and do different things. And one of the things that I like about Doceri is that it actually saves these drawings and it puts them on a file, and you can upload them to whatever you need to share with the students. So every time I do a lesson, I upload my video to YouTube, and then I upload this picture to either Schoology or OneNote, where the kids have access to this stuff, so that because sometimes I am in my Zoom meetings and I see a lot of kids still in their bed, and they just I know they're not copying notes, so at least they have them accessible to them. So I don't know. Someone has a question. What's up?
Mr. Cruz, so this is free, first of all, right?
Yes.
because I just got up and I'm back, and I just want some clarification. So, so you can download this on your, you can get it on the App Store, right? This.
Yes.
And once you write on it, you can save.
Yeah, it saves it. It saves it for you. So I don't know if you can.
Does it I mean, take you through the steps once you start using it? Okay, then I can figure it out.
Yeah, it's very straightforward. It's very like it actually walks you through the steps on how to connect using Doceri. So this is one feature of Doceri that I like. So if I'm doing I like a lesson, so I literally I did all these steps with my students with them as I was teaching, as I was talking to the problem. This is what I show them. So now let me show you the other capability of Doceri. So for Doceri, what you can do, so I'm gonna stop sharing this for a second. So another thing that you can do with Doceri is that Doceri can actually control your computer. So for this, what I like to do is I like to put my work on either PowerPoint or on OneNote. So I am gonna show you what I have in OneNote, and then just kind of show you through that what Doceri does for me. So this is, let me see. Let me just start it for you. Just give me 1 second. All right. So I'm gonna share my screen again real quick. So this is how I have my notes. This is OneNote. So I upload my PowerPoints on OneNote. And the reason why I like OneNote is because if the kids have an iPad, they can actually annotate, and you can do different things, and I'll save them there automatically. So, but if, for example, if they don't have, OneNote, and they can do, if they can do notes on the side, then that's why I do my notes individually. So, but now let me show you what Doceri does in terms of controlling your computer, which is in essence the exact same thing that I showed you earlier, but now it actually annotates on your screen. So I'm waiting for my my thing to connect. Okay, so now I am controlling Doceri through the program on my iPad, and again I can do the same thing, right? So I can still annotate. I can annotate. So for example, for English or for you guys, whatever it is that you're doing, what you can do is that you can, you can scroll down to a problem or whatever it is that you need to do. And then if you want to annotate, you can annotate, and Doceri will keep an image of that and save it as well. And it saves it on an archive on the Doceri itself, so you can share with your students later. So let me just go back to this, cancel. Okay, so I'm back. So again, I uploaded my my lesson on OneNote. But again, you don't have to have OneNote open. I'm just gonna show you a PowerPoint, which is that's the exact same thing. So this is my PowerPoint. And again, this is through my computer, and I can actually use Doceri to control my screen. So now I can annotate right here, just like I was doing earlier. So I can write stuff, right? I can circle, I can do equations, I could do whatever I want. So, and this all is what the kids see. So again, Doceri can be used to run it directly as a mirror image through share screen on the option that you have for Zoom, or you can use Doceri to control your screen that you see in like a PowerPoint or whatever, and you can annotate. So if you reading an article, you can highlight stuff, or you can annotate stuff, and then this way the kids later on can have access, for these documents that you do. So this is how I use Doceri. Again, I have two ways to use it. I use it to either control my computer, which is what I just showed you right now, and you can annotate on different pages, or I can use it as a mirror image, which basically just opens Doceri on the iPad, and I can do my annotations on the iPad itself. So I don't know if you guys have any questions before I.
Yeah, it's a quick question. So what you're saying is that you can import any like PowerPoint or notes that you do into Doceri so that you can annotate directly on it. Is that how it works?
No. The only thing that you can upload to Doceri is pictures and what was the other thing that you can upload? Give me a second. You can upload just links and pictures. I still haven't figured out how to upload a, a document to Doceri, but this is the reason why I use it to control my computer, because I can have a document in my computer and I can use Doceri to annotate and do examples on the spot. So for example, like right now, if you look at this is what you're seeing. I can annotate, right? I can, I don't know if you saw that, but I was able to control, if Doceri freezes that image that you have on your computer and you can annotate and it saves this as an image on the archive. So
Mr. Cruz.
yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Sorry. No. Finish. Then I'll ask.
Well, I think that's all I have. So
Okay.
again, just to show, yeah, just
I'm
that's the
trying
two
to
systems.
understand how you keep saying Doceri control. So let me understand it. So let's say I have a PowerPoint open, okay, and I'm screen sharing it. And now what do? I click on Doceri and then it takes over. Is that what I do?
Well, what Doceri does, I guess I can show you very quick again. So Doceri. So right now, this is you seeing my screen, right? And then this
Yes.
is a PowerPoint. So
Okay.
this is what the students see. So
Okay.
Doceri, what it does is that it takes a snapshot of your current page that you have.
Slide.
So yeah, of the slides. So right now, I just did that through Doceri. And
What
once
did you do? That's what I want to know. What did you do to switch to Doceri?
So Doceri, once you open Doceri, you have two options. One, you have the option to run Doceri directly through your iPad, which is what I used earlier to show you my iPad on my screen. Or option two, you can run it through your computer. If you run Doceri through your computer, you have to have the program also installed in your computer. And what it does is that you can mirror your computer on your iPad Doceri program, and you can annotate on your iPad. So right now I have the program Doceri annotate on whatever I am sharing on the computer. So, and again, these are steps that Doceri will tell you once you have it. So if you have Doceri installed, you have to have also another extension installed in your computer so that Doceri connects to your computer, and it will basically will mirror your computer onto your iPad or Doceri iPad. I mean, app.
Okay. So a clarification. So let's say I have Doceri on my computer.
Yep.
And then I'm also using an iPad. So I have to have it on both. Is that what you're saying?
If you want to annotate, yes, because you can only
Okay.
do the annotations through your iPad.
And then I have to have my PowerPoints on both, right? No.
Only
No.
on your computer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what Doceri does is allows you to annotate on your computer. So whatever you run in your computer, whatever you run in the background, Doceri will start annotating on that screen.
Okay, I got it. Yeah. Okay.
From the iPad.
Thank
you. Can I ask one more question, Mr. Cruz? So
sure.
There's an app that I used to use at my old school called Notability, and I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with it. It's for taking annotations. Could Doceri be used for that same purpose, where students can like write on an article we send them, they take annotations, and then they can send that to us, right? It works the same way?
I don't think so. I think Doceri is mostly for annotation. Like if you wanna, if you wanna, draw or write on top of something else, that's what it's used for. But the only problem with Doceri is that Doceri only annotates on stuff that you either have on your screen on your own computer, or it's because I don't think Doceri takes an article. You cannot upload a file to Doceri to annotate it and save it.
Okay.
So Doceri is only intended to be used as an annotation kind of tool that annotates on anything that you put on top of it. So the best way that I've used Doceri to annotate is if I run like a PowerPoint or something on my screen, then I let Doceri kind of take over for annotations, and then that's how I use it. Or you can use Doceri directly to just annotate stuff. And that's what I showed you the first time.
Okay. But that's how you use it. So how can students use this then?
Well, that's a good question. I don't think this is intended for students to be used. This is mostly for you to deliver instruction and show examples and show stuff. I don't think this is intended for the students, because this is only, Doceri is only meant for to do annotations and to do lessons or to write stuff on top, or you can just run Doceri by itself to show you know, something. But I don't think this is something that students really gonna find useful, because the annotations and everything that it has, it's not. I mean, you can still use Doceri to annotate, but I don't think you can use it to like, I don't know how would that work, because what I mentioned earlier, that Doceri only takes, let me see, it only takes pictures, and pictures that you take with your camera.
Okay. Because Miss Campbell, the special ed teacher, asked me to install this for her students. So the way I was thinking that we could use it, and I'm just throwing an idea out there, because I also know that once something's completed, it can convert it into a YouTube video for you that you can share with others. So I was thinking maybe a student does like a before, during, and after model to demonstrate a process that we've been talking about, and then they can share that to us, and that'll be like that heuristic assignment that, you know, they're talking about for this whole online learning. Do you think that would work?
Well, what you could do with Doceri is that if you have, for example, a file or something that you can upload to it, you can actually annotate, like you said, and actually record it. So you can use Doceri, but you can't share Doceri. You can't have the kids share Doceri with you. So it will be more about them having a picture or draw something for you before and after, and then save it. So they can do it on their own, but I don't think it's something that they can do live. So if you want them to do something, then they can actually, you know, work a problem out on Doceri, save it, and send that to you, if that makes better sense.
Yeah, no, it does. So like maybe we host like office hours with them, and then ask them to demonstrate a problem with us live by sharing the screen with us, right? They could use it for that.
Yeah, they can do that. But I think the easiest way, because trying to share your screen with Doceri and everything else, it might be complicated, because you actually need to connect your iPad to the computer so that you can mirror your iPad. So I think the best way that Doceri can be used for students is that they can actually do a problem, and they can record it, solving the problem, and then they can save it as a file and then send it to you. Or if you have a problem, they can actually show you how they solve the problem, because you're right, that has the capability that you can annotate, and as you annotate it, you can be recording it, and it can save it.
Voiceover too, right?
And then they can send it to you that way. You're correct, yes.
Very cool. Thank you, Mr. Cruz. Any other questions about this app? Sounds pretty cool to me.
I really like the writing annotations capabilities of Doceri, because it makes it very simple to zoom in, zoom out, and you can write little, big, depending on what you want to show. Like I said, I'm able to fit an entire problem on the window, and I can't do that with other applications. Like I also was playing with another one called Incredible, something like that. The platform is very nice. You can switch the pages, but you can't zoom in and zoom out. So it's really hard to write small and being able to fit problems that are lengthy on those apps. But Doceri, I think it's by far one of the best annotating programs that I've used. But you are absolutely right, Mr. Quillo. If students have it, they can actually work a problem out, record as they solve, and talk over if they need to, and then save it as a video. or they can actually just solve the problem and then save it as a PDF and just send you the homework that way.
Okay.
But again, that's also given that every single kid's iPad is working. I know
Right.
my wife's kids have been having a lot of issues downloading apps using the school's iPads.
Yeah. Well, I thank you, Mr. Cruz. So I did push it out to all of our iPads. So you're right. Hopefully they all work for them. But again, we're just looking at options, right? So thank you, Mr. Cruz. And if no other questions, I'll move on to the next section of our agenda. Now that you've presented Doceri, my thought was to have us break out into groups again and talk about, or at least discuss, how we can implement future lessons during this remote learning time using Mr. Cruz's Doceri's as an example. Obviously, we're probably not all going to use it the same way, but I just thought maybe we could break out into our groups and have some little reflection time on that. And then I'll break up our groups 5-10 minutes before the meeting ends so we can address these last two questions. Sound like a plan? Okay, here we go, guys. So I'll break us up into groups now. So there's 12 of us. We'll do 4 groups of 3. You'll receive my invitation now, and I'll be jumping around. See you guys. You have to accept the invite, Mr. Luna and Brenda. Hey guys. So thank you, Mr. Cruz. I really like that application. I see a lot of potential for it.
Yeah, I think you know what, I didn't think of that. I think you're absolutely right. The kids can actually do their work on Doceri, and then
Demonstrate the learning.
they can and then as they talk, they can even talk
and explain
as they're explaining, and this way it will be a good way for them to recite, a procedure as steps or something, so that they can
yeah, I see it perfect for your class and math classes, which is all like like a lot of problem based. How about you, Ms. Umana and Mr. Luna? How do you guys see this happening in your classrooms?
Right now, I like it, but I actually just had a conversation with another parent where she didn't even know what Schoology was.
Oh.
So and it's not that it's their fault, but these are parents that might have like 3 special ed kids. That's what I'm going through. So they're just stressed out and overwhelmed with everything that they have to deal with. So the mom was just telling me, like, I don't have time for any of that. I like it, but my kids can't even access Schoology.
Sorry to interrupt, but have those students talked to the principal about maybe getting some other form of device that maybe we can use to better support them with? Or
so right now I have been working with Miss Rec. We're trying to get them iPads and see if they have access to internet. That's one.
We have Chromebooks too at the school.
Yes, they have iPads. They had it, but so now the problem is having an adult to help them log in.
Yeah.
So but I understand. I have been in contact with some of the parents, and they are also working 8-hour shifts, from home, but they are busy themselves. But one day at a time kind of thing.
Yeah, of course. How about you, Mr. Luna?
Some of my kids actually, because they're resourced, are pretty savvy, and some other ones don't. I'm getting a hard time getting them to submit some of the applications, which is basically either copy the file and upload it to Schoology, or also taking a picture with the iPad and using that. Fortunately, we were doing that before this broke out. Most of them have a concept of that. As regarded with Mrs. Ramachandra's chemistry class, I think that we're going to have to make a decision on what she wants to do with the application Mr. Cruz was talking about. If she wants to go that route, we've been getting kind of two messages. One is to make it a little bit palatable or slow it down a little bit with the breaks. And then also the other one is to use these applications and go into the mode of uploading and doing the annotations on that online. I mean, I have never used that application, and I think that that's something that might be a barrier. It's, you know, we have to see what happens when we do try to use that application. One question, Mr. Cruz, how do you spell that application?
Let's see how
I'm gonna jump around to other groups, guys, but
yeah, you
not,
is Doceri is
Biology stuff. So if you wanted to assign it, you would just go, I don't know, the first one. And if you just click the star, it assigns it to everyone. So you want to kind of hover over it, and then all of your classes come out. They're already there. So you have period 1 biology, period 4 biology, and then you just click on the star of whoever you want to assign it to. And that's it. And it just gets like shaded like that.
And then what is it that they get? Because Mr. Trujillo said that they'll have the, do they have to go to the website or?
Yeah, so you have to tell them to go on there, but once they get it, it'll be like a recommendation. And this is, I think, what their page looks like.
Yeah.
So you click here on recommendations.
And it says recommendation by teachers.
Also, you tell the students, go to recommendations and do whatever work is in there.
Yeah. If I could just jump in, sorry, because I'm making my rounds. Did you also tell him, Brenda, that he needs to have the IXL username and passwords?
Yeah.
Okay.
I did it. So if they haven't used it for math, then you do have their passwords in here to give them.
Otherwise, they can't.
Otherwise,
this.
Yeah. I mean, if they already used it for math, it's the exact same thing. Like their math stuff comes out, and then whatever you assign them for science will come out in the same page.
Oh, I see. And what about if they never used the IXL?
You have to share
Then,
the username and password, like I was saying.
Where do I find that?
She's showing you.
You go to teacher resources, and I think it's
right there.
Printables.
Yeah, printable.
And it's just practice problems, Calderon. It's really awesome, and you can see all the problems that they got wrong. So that way you can be like, oh, you know what? They didn't get this concept. Let me reteach it. It's really cool.
Yeah. So for like example, if you're done, you go to analytics, and then you'll see a specific class. Start period 6, and then whatever you assign them. I didn't give them anything this week, but yeah, it'll give you like summaries, diagnostics. You can see specific students.
Nice.
And the skills are basically like the standard that they're practicing. So that's the really important. Click on that one, Brenda, the skills. See like what skills and stuff they were studying with you.
You teach bio, Mr. Trujillo?
Yeah, this is like the perfect group right here. We all do biology. We're just missing Dowd here. We should all use this. It's really, really cool. Oh yeah, Punnett scores. That's what I did too.
Yeah, so this is some skills I gave them. It shows you how much time they spent on it and stuff like that. How many students did it. So for example, 25 students did this one. Only 10 students got to these because I assigned these later.
Well, that's pretty cool.
That's really cool.
Do you guys use it just as like practice, or do you assign it? Like,
No,
if I see that you worked on the skills, just to practice on there?
No, the way I'm using it, Sabrina, I don't give any points for this, but I tell them what we cover here, because it's only practice, will be on the test. So what I did for my upcoming quiz that I'm going to do, I looked at the ones that they got wrong. I looked at the ones they got right, and I kind of like shaped my test based on what the data is showing, and also just to look at what they're not understanding and just reteach it. But no, I don't give any points for this. I think the math department does, but I don't really think they should, because they can just redo these. So like, what's the, I don't know. I just use this as practice. That's all this is supposed to be, is just practice.
Yeah, if you do want to give them credit though, or if you do want to like grade it, it just gives you a breakdown of all the students here. And eventually they get to that 100% because they do extra questions.
But that's the thing, it's kind of adaptive, so it'd be kind of hard to grade it in that sense. That's why I don't give any credit for it. I just use it as skills. But do you use it, Sabrina?
I just started looking at it because I was trying to see if there was any cellular respiration ones with it, and there's like one that's
Yeah.
chemistry, which I haven't really taught like the nitty gritty details of it. So I wanted to see it before I gave it to them, but I was thinking of using it this week.
Cool. Awesome. I love this. Very cool. All right, guys, I'm gonna jump around to other groups, but sounds good. See you in a bit, guys.
That's correct. Yeah.
Well, I
But
don't know.
I'm wondering, we don't even know what's going on in their lives. We don't know.
Right. We don't know what the home life is like, because they may
Yes.
have 3 or 4 brothers or sisters home. They may only have one computer in the household. They may not have laptops for everybody.
That's true.
And even though they have the iPads, we're assuming that they have Wi-Fi and different things like that. So
I can tell you though, because I monitor the iPads, that most of our students do have iPads, and most of them do have Wi-Fi. So if they're not doing it, they may be lying, or they're just avoiding your work. But
and then I have a question for you. When you say you push out the apps to the iPads, is that something you can do like remotely if you were sitting there right now?
That's exactly how I do it. That's what I do all the time. So whenever I tell you guys that I push out an app, the students receive it instantly from me, because I'm the mobile device manager, so I control every single device at our school. So I can delete things, I can block things, I can add things.
So
I have
access to their access to their iPads. Is that what happens, or does it go through the email or something?
No, I control them remotely.
Wow, each iPad. That's fantastic.
Each iPad. Why do you think these bags are getting bigger? Yes, every single one.
Egon,
Yes.
talking about students making excuses, I agree there too, because there was an email sent by one of the counselors to all the teachers of this one student I have in my period 1. And the student is emailing the counselor saying like, I was not aware that I was supposed to check Schoology for assignments, blah, blah, blah. And the counselor is replying back to the email saying like, oh, you're supposed to do this, blah, blah. So I wrote back, I said, you know what, the last day of school, the 13th, all Mr. Luna and I did in our classrooms was teach them how to submit assignments on using their iPad, and we told them what was coming their way, how to expect assignments being published or posted by teachers and everything. So that's what I wrote back. So it's just like, hey, oh, are we supposed to check Schoology for assignments? What are you supposed to be doing then, sitting at home? Like, it's really, I mean,
Yeah,
makes me mad.
it's that, but there's like Monty was saying, there's other factors too, right? It
Yeah,
may not even
there
just
is.
be internet or that they're ignoring you. It may just be that they're working. It may be that they're with another family member. I had a student who told me during this time they're actually out of the country and they're still finding a way to get on Zoom amazingly. So there's so many things to consider. We don't know, you know.
I know some people who are doing this, and they tell me that when they try to do that online class, some of these kids are living in a 1-bedroom apartment or something like that, and their grandpa is there watching TV. It's too noisy. And there's multiple things. I know it's we are trying our best, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's why it's also important to let the counselors know, because Ms. Bush and the counselors, they are contacting these students and families. So we're trying, but let's just not give up, you know. We just keep doing what we're doing, keep using these resources like Doceri, Zoom, any way you can to get across them. But awesome job, guys. I'm going to jump around. I have one more group to go, and then I'm going to collapse all these groups, okay? See you in a bit.
Okay, cool.
The same kids that weren't doing work even before the school closure.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, like, for example, Salvador Avina, you know, and Miss Frank already knows, and the counselors know. These are the kids that we lost even before the school closed.
So I see here, Egon, hello.
Hi.
I was just looking at some of the things that Mr. Vimo is doing on Schoology. Have you seen what he's doing?
I don't know what he's doing. What are you
So
guys?
if you go into the science department in Schoology, and you look at a folder on the bottom under resources, it's another. Are you going there now?
Well, are you asking me? Yeah, I can go there now.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I'm listening.
Okay. And so if you go down to the bottom where it says week of March 30, remote learning assignment, and take a look at that.
Okay.
So we're just trying to look at a kind of a constellation of different remote learning models. So under these circumstances, I mean, people are going to gravitate to those things that make sense to them and that they feel are comprehensible, both technically and conceptually. For me, I could see the value of what Mr. Cruz is doing. And it's very clear that he knows what he's doing. And it's very clear that it works. However, I don't know what it's going to take. And maybe you can share with what you observed in your other breakout groups. How are the other breakout groups responding, and how likely do they think they are to?
Not well. So
Yeah.
I think people are still feeling overwhelmed by this, and they think it's a cool tool, but the biggest gripe I hear is that they say that their students don't have iPads, aren't connecting online. And I tell them, look, most of our students have internet and iPads. I can tell you for a fact. I think a lot of it is that we're making assumptions that it's too much for our students. One person was just saying that they want to slow it down, but again, that's I keep hearing that being told over and over, and I don't know that
Slow what down? Slow what down?
this process, this remote learning, because they feel that it's too much for their students. One of the
Oh, okay. So there's two different things here as far as I hear it. One is slowing down or simplifying in terms of what teachers can assimilate, or the degree to which teachers can adjust their instruction to meet the needs of students. And then making sure that what students are being asked to do is meaningful.
Yeah.
So that there's no mistake that slowing down for kids doesn't mean a lack of rigor or a lack of relevance.
Exactly.
And that's why I think what Mr. Viamil has done here warrants an investigation, because for two reasons. One is he's working on a platform of Schoology already. He has a high degree of interaction from his students. And he said something interesting. He said he becomes a curator of curriculum. So when I look at that assignment, it makes sense to me. What do you think?
Well, two things. So I already put together a PowerPoint that I was going to share with you and Regina, because we're going to have a PD tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah.
And I compared and contrasted two things that are being pushed out to us that I think people are getting confused about. Remote learning and online learning are not the same thing, first of all. So the PD that we were given last week was on remote learning. The thing that Hilda sent us, Price, that's online learning modules. That's not the same thing. And we're making assumptions that people know that they are, or they're not. So I was just going to clarify what those are. I agree.
Like if you were to just clarify that for me right now, what would it be? The primary difference.
So online learning is exactly what that video that Hilda Price sent out yesterday, which is you give students assignments that they can do at their own time. There's discussions that they post along the way. There's heuristic assignments where they learn along the way. You do a check-in assignment, and then there's some sort of summative paper project. That's different than remote learning, because online learning assumes, just like adults like us that have done online classes, we know that there's a week to do those assignments when. And that's what a learning module is. But remote learning is different. Remote learning is what we're currently doing, which is temporarily teaching online but not all people know the difference. And online learning assumes complete online platform, meaning everything is like there's no like lecture involved. It's like, here's some assignments, here's something for you to read and watch on your own, here's how you respond to it. You have to give tons of feedback because there's really no interaction. Remote learning is what we're doing right now. I can check in with you, I see you, there's a little bit of instruction, and direct instruction as seen through online learning is different than what Dr. Ray was talking about last Thursday. So they're similar, but online learning is straight online. No.
Okay, so based on what we saw from Mr. Cruz, that would be an example of remote learning.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Because you see him, he's talking, it's interactive, kids are all kind of doing it together like in a classroom.
Yeah.
Now, what we see here that Mr. Villamil has posted, is that something more that what you would view as online learning?
I didn't read the whole thing, but so the main difference is that with online learning, it's just like a college classroom where you're given a week to do such assignment, you do your research along the way, you have discussion posts that you do like a discussion board on Schoology, and then you submit the final work and then move on. But the way
more like Edgenuity.
Well, more just like an online college class. That's what online learning is.
But isn't Edgenuity, that sounds to me like Edgenuity.
I haven't used Edgenuity.
Oh, okay.
But Mr. Villamil, I mean, you tell us, because I'm not familiar with your assignment. What would you align yours to more?
So, well, if you use those definitions, then it will be an online learning assignment. But when this is over, though, or I think the concern really is that all our teachers have different skills. Mm-hmm. And so I cannot say, this is how I do my class, and Cruz, Ramachandran, this is how you should also do your class. I think teachers should have the flexibility to adapt to what works, with their different skills. Because I feel like, Cruz is talking about this, and then some teachers are not comfortable with it. So I think we, as long as the teacher can, as long as there's learning in the classroom, whether it's through online learning or remote learning, as long as there's learning, because in the end, it's not going to be about how it was delivered, right? I think it's the product, the result that we should worry the most.
So let me kind of paraphrase what I'm hearing here, because I think you're both bringing up important points. If this were something, for example, if we were saying Franklin High School is going to now do all of their interactions with students digitally, and it would be a long-term situation, I could see how the value of remote learning over the long haul would be much more valuable. Because for a couple of reasons. One, it would provide an opportunity for teachers to sort of assimilate what that means and the various platforms that they could use and become familiar with. On a short run like this, hopefully it's not going to be any longer than a couple of months, but let's say it goes to the end of the year. What can we do to mass, to a critical mass, to the most students with the most teachers feeling productive, feeling that they're having robust interactions with students are learning.
Hey, Bill, can I interject just because for the sake of time? I think what you're bringing up, everyone should hear what you're bringing up. So let me collapse this room, and why don't you share that with the rest of us so we can all chime in, okay?
Yeah.
Right.
Next step.
Hi, Ivan. I think we're the only ones left here.
I'm collapsing all the rooms now. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Cruz. If I had any questions, I'll text you. Okay.
Please.
About the series.
Please.
Okay. Thanks. Can I leave, Egon? Can I leave? It's already 3:05 because I have my class with my EpiCam next.
Of course.
Me too, Mr. Trujillo. If you have any questions, shoot me an email, shoot me a message, and then I'll try to get back. So I have to meet with my class right now.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
See you guys
Bye,
at 4 on
everyone.
Friday.
Bye.
All right, guys. So,
Where are you now?
so did you want to share that last point, Mr. Gurr, before everyone heads out?
I was, as it seems like there's a discussion, or there is a discussion currently going on between the relative value of online learning versus remote learning. Quite candidly, I am not deeply knowledgeable about the difference, but superficially, online learning is something where kids go on, they learn at their own pace, they interact primarily and almost exclusively on an online platform. They read, they watch, they answer questions, they get some feedback, all of it done digitally. Remote learning is something where it's closer to a traditional classroom, where there's immediate feedback, there's immediate interaction between the material that students are working on and the teacher's observation of what students are doing in real time. Now that may be inaccurate, but what I am most concerned with is how are we going to maximize the time that we spend with students over, let's say, this 2-month period. Let's say we don't go back. Let's say this is it. We're going to be doing this until June. What can we realistically expect? Well, it's going to be different. Different teachers are going to be already familiar. For example, Mr. Cruz is he clearly is very, very comfortable with technology. He's innovative. He's when you listen to him, it's impressive. However, there are other teachers, I'm sure, that are listening to him, and their eyes are sort of rolling back in their heads, and they're sort of saying, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!" And so, during this stressful time, how can we bring our strengths to the table, maximize the quality of interaction that we have with students? I was just looking at something that Mr. Viamil posted in Schoology, which I guess would be a more traditional online learning. And so I would suggest all of you go there and take a look at that. It's called, although it's titled Remote Learning, it's in the Science PD group. It's at the very bottom. It's dated March 30th. And it's an online, embedded in Schoology, lesson in which kids are watching and reading and then answering questions. Thoughts?
I could say that I think first we just all need to be on the same wavelength and kind of understand what the differences are between remote and online.
Yeah.
And I think we just need to, as a school, adopt a system, because I think you're right. People are kind of ambiguous about the two terms, but I think people are obviously really stressed and overworked with this whole process, so they haven't really found their footing just yet. But I think once we lay out the actual model that we're aiming for, I think we just need to be consistent with it, because we can't have someone doing one thing and another teacher doing something that's more like remote learning. That's really just unfair to the student, unfair to staff who are putting effort into teaching things like Mr. Cruz, right? So I think really we just need to wait a little bit to hear everyone's perspectives from all these departments, and see what everyone says, and then find a path for us.
I have a question, Mr. Gurr. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but how do you make sure that all students are taking this seriously? And we don't know what kind of family situation they are in. I understand that.
Yeah.
But what happens, let's say, if we don't go back till June, and it gets close to final grades, are we going to just pass all of them? For doing work? And what about the students who are doing the work? What kind of message are we giving them?
Well, I think I don't want to give the impression that there doesn't need to be accountability in what we do. And that we start just gratuitously assigning grades. What I do feel will be necessary, and I'm glad we're having this PD over spring break, is that teachers can begin to assimilate an understanding of how can they maximize their effectiveness as a teacher in interacting with their classes. Just like when we're at school, you walk from one classroom to the next and teacher styles are pretty different. However, we do look for certain things in every classroom. Perfect example of that would be learning intentions. Is there a clear message about what it is we're supposed to be learning? Is there a clear message as to why it's important? Is there a clear message as to how we're going to determine whether it's learned or not? And so my question would be, can you accomplish both of that goal? Can you effectively accomplish that goal with online learning and remote learning? I don't know.
Yeah. So the thing here is, can we be a little strict with students in the sense like tell them, hey, this is due by this time, this will affect your grade, but we can't even do that at this point because same thing, like, you know, I don't know, like, you know, you have to make them accountable, but how?
I think that's, Ramachandra, I think that's different than remote learning and online learning. That's just like the teacher's classroom management. If you're I think at that point, you just need to contact counselors and the principal and let them know that they're just not doing work. I think that's a little different than what we're talking about.
Okay.
So someone, Mr. Cruz, you want to chime in here? Did you have a chance to, because when I was listening to you, again, just to reiterate, not to labor the point, I was lost. I was lost. I thought, well, what if I don't have an iPad? Can I still do it? I got really bogged down in some of I got intimidated by what you were talking about in terms of technology, because I heard you saying, we're going to be using Zoom, we're going to be using a document camera, we're going to be using Docere, is it Docere?
Docere.
Docere, we're going to be using my own computer, we're going to be annotating, we're going to be just working with documents, but we can't create, we're going to be using OneNote. And I'm listening to you going, holy man, that guy is a wizard. He's juggling all these different things. That I personally, it would take me a while to figure out how to do all that stuff. Like I'd need to take a class with you.
Well, I think the best approach to do this is definitely, I think, try to identify the tools that are the easiest to use and that are able to work with the systems that we have in place right now. The option one of having an external camera is probably the easiest. If you want to annotate, if you want to show students step by step how to do a problem and then show it as you go, then that's probably the easiest way. Yeah, I get you about the online learning and tools. My wife is in the exact same boat. She's never used some of these tools, so I've been trying to teach her how to use these tools. And yes, she feels exactly like you do. It's just like, this is too much for me. Like, I don't, like, how am I supposed to learn this and then still worry about, you know, trying to, you know, get my students come together and learn with me. So I don't know. I think that what we need to do is exactly what Mr. Trujillo said. I think we need to wait it out a little bit and see what people are doing and kind of find their comfort zone and just, and then maybe just start implementing and doing those little trainings on the simple devices that we have already available. Take a survey on what people have available at home. I'm sure, you know, people might have a tablet and iPad that they can use. And luckily, these applications are very simple to use. They don't really require you know, a degree on technology to be able to use. But I think that maybe, you know, I don't know, Mr. Guerrero, maybe you can advocate for us. Maybe we can use this time as part of our requirement for the 14-hour training that we have to do, right? We doing.
That is a great idea. That is a really, really, really good idea. I know, you know, the degree to, I can advocate, but the influence of my advocacy, I think is going to be minimal. But I very much appreciate what you're saying, because I agree with you. I agree with you.
Because like all I have to say is that before I got this meeting, I was looking at this. I was trying to listen to a PD that I'm doing about remote learning and everything, and everything they were talking about, I'm like, it was not relevant to me because I already know what to do, right? So, but I think that there's a lot of people out there that need a more direct kind of like instruction. So what I really dislike about these PDs is that there is 100 people have a question or have questions, and there's no way you are going to address those questions in the time that you have if you have an agenda. So what I was thinking, I'm like, why don't we have these PDs within our own school, within our own departments, and teach each other what we have as best practices that we can find useful instead of trying to incorporate, because based on what my wife listened yesterday and what I listened, it's just too much. You know, they're throwing all these ideas about how to incorporate, readings, videos, and everything. And the learning curve for some teachers is just ridiculous.
May
Like,
I say something here?
yes.
So, Mr. Gurr, this is what
Yeah.
happened with me. I'll talk about my own experience.
Okay.
So, I saw all this coming. So, when was it? We closed, I mean, our last day was a Friday. I think on March 12th, during my 6th period conference, I requested Egon. I sent Egon a text saying, hey, can you stop by my room? And he taught me how to use something called Screencast-O-Matic. And then I went home and I tried it on my own. I had no clue how to do all this. And then the Zoom meetings and all. And I was like 2 days, it took me, I was feeling so overwhelmed. I went, watched so many YouTube videos, and I was going back and forth with Egon, how to do this, how to do that. I was kind of educating myself. How am I going to do all this? And then the other day, right after our faculty meeting, I did a Zoom meeting with the crews trying to learn how to use the document reader, blah, blah, blah. So I had to put in all that time and effort because I had to be ready for my students. So I had to figure it out, and it's not easy. Like, it was hours of work, and I want to thank Egon at this point, and I want to thank Cruz, but then that's me.
Well, no, I that's why I appreciate the initiative that you took. And I could tell by the questions that you were asking, Mr. Cruz, you were ahead of the curve. You had a degree of confidence. I could tell just the way you were interacting. But I saw that there were probably other teachers in the room who were more passive because perhaps they didn't even know what question to ask. And so we don't know what this time period is going to look like. Are we going to go back May 1st? I personally think not. So let's say, for example, this runs its course and it's going to be, 2 months. Then all teachers are going to need to do what you've already begun doing. And I think we're meeting tomorrow to begin planning a voluntary but paid PD that's going to be available over spring break, where we're going to take a look at these topics. So I don't have any answers, honestly.
Can I say one more thing, Mr. Gurr?
Of course.
Because all of us already have so much on our plate. Just a suggestion. So, how many biology teachers do we have? So maybe each one can do one lesson, because we kind of are, as far as spacing is concerned, we are close. So maybe Egon can do one lesson and record it for all the biology teachers. Another teacher can do another lesson. I don't know if that's a good suggestion. So that way,
Yeah,
you don't have to worry about. What do you think? I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be like doing classroom observations within our department, which we
No, not observations. Like, you can record a lesson for your other biology teachers as well, and they can share that with their students. And meanwhile, another biology teacher can record this other lesson for your students as well. So that way, that takes some pressure off you.
So for example, you're saying, let's look at
sharing
biology.
Sharing, yeah.
Yeah, you're looking at biology. Let's just say, for the sake of this discussion, a 6-week chunk of time.
Uh-huh.
And one teacher will cover this standard, these concepts. The next teacher will cover the next set of standards or concepts. And so that there'll be a 6-week unit plan of which 3 or 4 teachers have all contributed. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
So that way, like in the 6 weeks, like if there are 6 teachers, each teacher has to only focus on one unit or something,
Yeah.
and they are doing it for others. So it's not like one teacher sitting down and planning, like doing all these lectures on 6 different topics. Like, I don't know.
Well, I can tell you, I just think that there's value in what Mr. Cruz showed us today. I also think there's value in what I observed that Mr. Villamil posted in your science Schoology group. And I would encourage you all to look at that. But like you, I think he chose just the way you invested your time in working with Mr. Cruz and working with Egan. I asked him how long it took him to create what's posted there, and he said all weekend.
Yeah.
So I think Virginia keeps saying over and over, let's not work harder, let's just work smarter.
I don't think this is the time. I don't think we have that luxury right now.
Of not working harder?
Of now working smarter. I think the learning curve for technology it's kind of big to be able to work a little bit. I think once we have a handle on the technology and the resources, then we can definitely work smarter. But right now, like Mr. Egan and Ms. Chandra and myself, I spent so much time trying to learn the ways of the systems and how do they merge them together. And I guess for me, the advantage that I have is that since I started teaching, I kind of took it up on myself to, be up to speed with all the technology. So I've used technology since day one. I try to utilize it as much as I can. So I'm a little bit tech savvy in that sense.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, right now, because it was just happening so quick, trying to make sure that all these systems come together to work, it's a lot of work. And but once you get it working, then yes, you can see the benefit of doing it. But I think everybody's just feeling a little overwhelmed because the learning curve of everything that's available for us is just a lot. I mean, for me, like I understand the process. So what's taking long for me is just to kind of setting it up and making sure that it works. Now, if you just imagine people that have never seen it, never done it, and trying to have, I had a 5-minute conversation with Chandra just to talk about cables. That's just, the little details that, some of us are just, really under the curve, So I think that, like, I feel that Mr. Trujillo is right. I think we just need to just kind of, let it be for a little bit. Let spring break come in, everybody. I think spring break is going to be a day for teachers to really go and find what works for them and then start seeking help and then hopefully go for there. But I agree with you, Mr. Gurr. My wife and we are kind of in agreement that there's a very low probability that we're going to go back May 1st. It's still crazy. The curve is still going up. More cases are showing up. And so according to the news, this is the week where things should peak or next week. So I don't know. We just
for the sake of time, guys, Monty has a question and we'll just conclude here because we're kind of over time by a lot.
Ms. Cordero and I plan to be going over all the grades right now because they're due tomorrow.
Yeah,
I need Mr. Cordero, and I was going to excuse myself, but I'm here to come with me because we're going to start doing our grades.
We'll end it there. Thank you, Monty, for
thank you.
Thank you, Monty.
For your time, guys.
All right.
Recording this, I'll post it onto Schoology for the rest of the
Thank you.
day.
Thank you, Mr. Cruz. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.